Dr. Tom Cowan is with us, and join us, Patrick, at OneRadioNetwork.com. Here's an interesting email for you. I get this one from time to time that I never have a good answer. Please ask Dr. Cowan what his thoughts are on yellow fever, dengue fever, and malaria. They, in caps, say yellow and dengue fever are caused by a virus, and malaria is caused by a parasite. What is the actual cause, in your opinion, since viruses don't exist? Maybe the parasites are just pleomorphized bacteria cleaning up the gunk from a previous toxic condition.
Correct. That's the answer.
He's got it?
Yeah. There's no dengue virus or yellow fever virus. They and that's the trouble with the sort of freedom, so-called truth community. So here's what really happens, like Ebola's like this. So they go into a community in Africa or a region, and they poison the crap out of it. And they starve, they move the people off their traditional lands into slum cities, inject them with all kind of vaccines, poison them, spread cyanide all over the place, and then people get sick, and give them antibiotics which actually have the same effects as Ebola.
Wow.
Right? So they do that. And then they blame it on the virus. And so they go in and do an eradication campaign with more injections, and the holistic community, the truth community, buys it lock, stock, and barrel and says that they're engineering Ebola viruses. Never mind the displacing the people, never mind the cyanide, never mind the pesticides, never mind the beta-lactam antibiotics, which cause identical symptoms as Ebola. Never mind any of that stuff. Just an engineered virus, which, by the way, you cannot find anywhere.
You can't isolate it, just like any virus. No.
It's all based on patents. You can patent anything. The whole patent thing is, the pandemic thing, that whole thing is the biggest bunch of hooey.
That was all rigged, wasn't it, to prove that there was something that existed, so they put these patents 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Yeah, I think so, too.
It's a patsy.
It's a patsy, yeah. And David Martin, God love him,
you got to have a story, otherwise, what are the truth people going to, we got him, and then we have a Senate sub-hearing. The guy gets it. We discovered that it's all Fauci. He told him to engineer this virus. We caught him red-handed.
And Doc, now they're still selling this Wuhan virus thing. I mean, it's big time now. They're really pushing on this lab virus. Really pushing. Ooh,
mainstream media, anything you see in the mainstream, they're blowing smoke up your ass.
That's true. Oh my God. What about years
malaria,
ago? I was going to talk about malaria. Remember the guy in malaria, and he started doing chlorine dioxide, whoever he was, and we interviewed him years ago.
Jim Humble. Andreas Clacker.
I had him on the air, Clacker, 10 years ago. So what was that about when somebody takes a chlorine dioxide or an ivermectin when there's nothing there to kill?
Well, chlorine dioxide helps oxygenate the tissue.
Oxygenate the cells, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it does help. Because, and they actually, there was an interesting study with malaria because they say it's mosquitoes, right?
Right.
So they took people, and by the way, it happened, in Panama and places when the U.S. Army Corps came in and starts, defoliating the area. And then everybody gets malaria. Yeah.
Spraying everything.
And they did an experiment with the Army hospital. They took a guy who had malaria and they put a bunch of mosquitoes in a cage with his arm, right?
Yeah.
Because then they were going to see if they could take those mosquitoes and put them in the arm of somebody who didn't, a cage with the arm of somebody who didn't have malaria and transmit malaria, right?
Yes.
You with me?
Yes, sir.
Turns out the mosquitoes wouldn't bite somebody with malaria because they said I don't know what they said, but my interpretation is this guy's blood doesn't taste good. He's got like arsenic in his blood. I'm not drinking.
We're not biting him, man.
And so if they can't bite somebody with malaria, they can't transmit it to somebody who doesn't have malaria. So, it's all a cover up for mass poisoning, displacement, starvation, emotional, psychological, trauma-based abuse.
So in the ivermectin or chlorine dioxide, back to that, it's more placebo then? They think they have something, they're going to take something, so they think it cures it?
The chlorine dioxide
does something, yeah.
Yeah, they're poisoned, so it helps. It's an electron donor, whatever that means.
They're poisoned from all the other stuff. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
I missed that
sick.
part. Yeah.
Right? People have to be clear. I'm not saying people aren't sick.
Yes, sir. I understand.
I'm talking about the mechanism. They are poisoned and they can even die. But they're not. It's not because of a falciform bacteria or parasite or whatever. It's because of they're poisoned, and all poisoning is a low oxygen, low energy state, and chlorine dioxide does seem to help with that.
Yeah.
And they mistakenly say that it kills the parasite. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And ivermectin is an anti-inflammatory. So it's like prednisone. You give somebody prednisone, they get better. Then they get worse.
They feel better because it lowers inflammation. You just feel better. Yeah, you just feel better. Yeah. Here's an email for you from Liz. Can Dr. Cowan give me his thoughts on familial hypercholesterolemia? Do you know that word?
I do. There's a great cure for that. I have 100% success rate in treating high cholesterol. You know what it is?
Don't look at your number.
Never do the test again.
Never do the test again. I got lucky.
You got pretty close. It means nothing. So if you don't do the test, you don't have to worry about it.
I heard a radio commercial this morning going to the farmer's market on the low T center that if you take this testosterone, it will also lower your cholesterol. That was one of their selling points. Interesting.
Yeah. Good.
Good. Lower your cholesterol. Right. What a cholesterol number do you think you need to make testosterone? Any theories on that?
It's nothing. It's of no relevance to know.
Oh, it's no relevance. So the statins are not lowering the cholesterol, so people need then the magic pill from Mr. Happy?
No, statins lower the cholesterol.
Right.
But it doesn't have any relevance except poisoning you.
I'm sorry, I lost you. Say that again. I got distracted.
So cholesterol is a repair substance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you lower it, then you're susceptible to injury more, which is why they give it to you. Because the point of doing medicine is to make people sick.
Yeah.
And they're good at it. So if you need, it's like if you have duct tape in your house and somebody keeps poking holes in your house and you duct tape. So somebody comes along and says, I know how to fix the repeated holes in your house. We're going to get rid of the duct tape. And you say, well, wait a minute, but they keep poking holes in my house. Yeah, but we got rid of the duct tape, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So the idea
that's how doctors think.
That's how they think. So statins do not lower cholesterol to a point that it inhibits testosterone. That's a myth.
Right.
Okay.
That probably does happen.
Oh, that does happen. Okay, yeah, I thought.
Yeah, because you make testosterone, or so they say. I'm not sure I believe it, but because I'm not sure that we have estrogen, testosterone, insulin actually in our bodies. And the reason I say that is because if you go to the method section and see how do you discover whether there's a chemical called insulin in your blood, in your body. what you realize is that it's an indirect assay. In other words, they take blood and they mix it with a bunch of chemicals, and that creates an effect, which then they say is because of the original something in the blood, which is insulin. They don't, and so you can't find the insulin directly in the blood. And so if you ask the question, which I've asked to a number of chemists, how do you know that mixing your blood with strong acids, for instance, and stains, doesn't create a chemical reaction which creates the chemical that we call insulin, but it wasn't actually there like that in your blood? And their answer is, we don't know. But then they say something interesting, which is, the proof is we can synthesize this chemical called insulin, and it lowers your blood sugar. So that's the proof that you had insulin. And so then I said, so the proof that we have cocaine in our body is because you can inject somebody with cocaine and they feel different, like weird. And that means if you feel weird, that's because you have your cocaine in your body is acting up. Well, no, you don't have cocaine in your body. You just told me that I could prove that it was in there because if I injected you with something and it has an effect, that proves it was in there. That's how you prove to me that insulin is in there, because if you inject it, it lowers your blood sugar. Therefore, anytime your blood sugar is lower, that's because of insulin. In other words, if I inject you with, LSD and you start hallucinating, anybody who's hallucinating, it's because the LSD in their body is too high. That's nuts.
Of course, nuts.
And I'm not saying that chemicals don't have an effect.
Sure.
I'm saying that you're telling me that this chemical, testosterone, is in that form in your body, and yet you can't find it directly. And here's the bottom line of this. There's this thing about, how do you know if you're still living in the matrix? If you think that living beings are made of particles, chemicals, or molecules, you are living in the matrix, because there is no evidence that that's true.
What are we made of?
Yeah, right. But see, there you get into the claim thing. The claim is you have insulin. Okay, show me. Well, okay, I take your blood and I mix it with acids in this, and I don't do a control, like I don't take just something else and mix that with acids to see if the acid, this gets into how did we prove there was DNA in living cells or living tissue?
I don't know.
So they originally said that the things in the nucleus were proteins, because when they took the nucleus and they mixed it with sulfuric acid, they got sulfur-rich chemical, which they said was a protein, because proteins are rich in sulfur.
Okay.
And then somebody had the bright idea of taking a nucleus and mixing it not with sulfuric acid, but phosphoric acid. And he got, instead of a sulfur-rich chemical, he got a phosphorus-rich chemical. And he said, that's not a protein, that's a new class of phosphorus-rich chemicals, and we call them DNA.
Come on. That's where DNA came from? Come on.
Hey, Bud, did you ever think that the reason you got this is because you did it with phosphoric acid instead of... No. And from that day on, DNA, phosphorus-rich chemical found in the nucleus. How do you find it? You mix the nucleus with phosphoric acid.
Dr. Cowan, Could this whole thing be this Looney Tunes and this fairy tale that it's crazy?
I can tell you, anybody listening, to this has one question right now, or one thought in themselves right now.
Yes, sir.
Is Cowan cannot be right because these people cannot be that stupid. Like, this is so friggin' obvious that it's all just absolute bullshit from the get-go, that he cannot be right. He must be missing something.
Yeah, got to be missing something.
But here's how you can check me. You can either go to the original paper, which I did, and how do they find DNA? But if you don't want to do that, go to your doctor. See, it's all about the method section, right? How did you find it? How did you find insulin? Go to your doctor tomorrow and say, how did they isolate, demonstrate, prove the existence of DNA in a living cell? How did they do it? He will have no idea. Well, somebody must have done it. Somebody proved there was a virus. I don't know how they did it or who, but somebody. And you ask a virologist, who came up with this idea of isolating a virus in a cell? I don't know. But they assume somebody must have done it properly. And then you show them, here's the paper, the first person who did it, here's what he did. He said, I'm looking for a new chemical, so I'm going to use phosphoric acid. And stop the friggin' presses, I found a phosphorus-rich chemical. Like, what's the matter with you? I mean, you can't make this shit up. And then nobody knows, then sometimes they give them a Nobel Prize for finding DNA. And then it's off to the races. And everybody then says, this is the chemical. And so then they study it and do this and do that. And nobody
knows. Dude, how far back does the whole virus idea, theory go, Dr. Cowan? Do we know? I mean, what was it about 300 years ago?
Really got, people thought Contagion forever because it seems obvious. Like,
sure, Spanish flu, whatever.
And if you don't do a study, you get bamboozled. But all this science stuff started in the latter half of the 1800s.
Okay.
They decided that we're not made of living protoplasm, which is organized water and energy. We're made of stuff, particles. And that's bullshit. They didn't prove it. They just claimed it.
Just said it is. Wow.
It's just, that's it.
They taught this in medical schools then on, just boom.
Ever since then, and nobody knows, even the idea that we're made of cells. Yeah, some guy named Rudolf Virchow came up with the theory. It's not a theory, it's a disproven hypothesis.
Disproven hypothesis. I like that. Yeah, that's a great term. Much better than theory, right?
It's not a theory. Theory has, some support to it.
Yeah.
And once you disprove something, right? It's not elephants. I've disproven it. But you also, people have to ask people why they think it's elephants. Or how would I prove this claim? Right? They're a mile up. You got to go to a mile high, not 10 miles, not half a mile. That's where they are. If they don't know that, they say, I don't know where they are. I don't know what they look like. I don't know, anything. Well, then it's not a claim. It's just nonsense.
Just nonsense.
You can't prove something, right? If you can't disprove it, then it's nothing. I claim that kennel cough is contagious. Okay, show me the study. Has to have a control. He put one dog with other dogs in different environments, so it's not the cage. Do it in a free living where the dogs are all happy and eating good food and all that, and then we got something. But they don't have that study. They do it in a confined cage, one more dog, maybe that's too crowded. And maybe the dog with the kennel cough eats all the others' food because they don't want to be around him because they believe in contagion.
In the same genre, people ask a lot about measles and what's not smallpox, whatever, mumps and all that. How does that work? Same way. It's
same thing. There's no virus. There's no proof that it's contagious. There's no proof that it's a distinct disease. The way they create epidemics, which was like with COVID, is they take all the different children with rashes, and they call them smallpox. And then they make a vaccine, and then they say, no, it's not smallpox anymore. It's chickenpox and monkeypox and measles and fifth disease and erythema this and whatever. And so, they did that with polio. Before the vaccine, if you had an acute GI and symptoms and then were paralyzed for a day, that was polio. Then, when after the vaccine, you had to be paralyzed for at least 3 months. And so the incidence goes down 97 or so % just because they changed the diagnosis. And now it's acute flaccid paralysis, or MS, or, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Just because and you say, well, how come the same symptoms became Guillain-Barré and they're no longer called polio? Well, because we eradicated polio with a vaccine. I mean, so with the COVID, used to be RSV and the flu, and
right.
And so that's all COVID, and then they do a vaccine, and now we're back to it's now the flu and RSV, and it's a clever trick.
Dr. Tom Cowan, here's an email. Dennis from Northern Utah. I'm a big fan. Thanks for having him on the show. It sounds like the major reasons people get sick is a loss of the fourth phase of water in the body from circulation issues, cancer, neurological issues. Could you talk for a minute about the nerves and the fourth phase? What does one have to do to make sure that we have adequate fourth phase of water? Could you tell us how the analemma wand works? Okay.
So it's basically the structured or fourth phase water is all of the water in our body, more or less, is in this coherent or structured form. And it happens because the water is as free as possible of contaminants. It has adequate proteins and adequate minerals, and it's exposed to the structuring elements, which is basically the light and the energy from the earth and energy from other people and animals and just the natural world. And so if you're losing the structure, it's usually because your water is poisoned or you're exposed to things like cell phones or single frequency devices. Mm-hmm. And analemma just helps structure the water, make it easier for you.
It's just it just makes it easier to drink. And you're in the hydrogen, that structures the water, the hydrogen machine, right?
It can, help a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need to finish here quickly. So.
Okay. So we could end with this because, we have about 20 emails here, but I'll do this one. Why don't you invite other people like Malone and McCullough on and have a debate between Dr. Cowan and these guys?
They won't do it.
They won't do it.
Ask them.
I will.
Peter McCullough, call him up.
I asked him. No, I haven't, but I will. I asked Del Bigtree why he doesn't go after the virus thing, and there is no virus thing, and he said we're going to, and so I wrote him back, and I copied you. I said, well, get Cowan on. He would be the good guy to talk to about it. So let me know when he calls you.
We've been negotiating this for months.
Have you really? Well, that's interesting.
Because I want to do it step by step.
Yeah.
And there's a right way to do it. First, we talk about contagion.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talk about the fraction that supposedly has the virus, the filtered agent. Then we talk about isolation, then electron microscopy, and then the genome. If you have to structure the conversation properly, otherwise it'll just be claim after claim and get nowhere.
So you've been talking to them about possibly doing that, coming to Austin and doing a whole series.
I'm not going to Austin.
You're not going on. I know it's pretty wacky here. I'm outside of Austin. I would.
Yeah, I'll do it. We've been negotiating for months.
Oh, for months. Oh, good. Okay, let me impose in just a couple more real quick, because this comes up a lot. So your guest thinks that bacteria cannot be dangerous or destructive or parasites to our health.
Bacteria are scavengers. And if you disagree, then you need to show us a study where you isolate a bacteria and expose a healthy person to it, of the bacteria, in the normal way, like drinking it or breathing it, and then show us that they get sick. Because none of us can find such a study. It's not an opinion. Show us the evidence, and if you can't, then you have to live with the facts.
And parasites?
I mean, it's basically the same.
Same thing. They're trying to clean things up?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
These are scavengers in nature. They eat dead and dying tissue.